Jersey's government is reviewing its compensation scheme for victims of crime after a UK lawyer threatened them with legal action. Alan Collins says the 3-year claim period in the current scheme discriminates against survivors of childhood sexual abuse.
He says people who were abused when they were children often don't come forward until adulthood. Well, Claire Burton is in the newsroom for us. Claire, this review has been a long time coming for some survivors, hasn't it?
Yes, Jersey's politicians have known for many years about this anomaly in the scheme, but it's only this week after ITV News approached them that they've agreed to look at it. So as it stands, anyone who's the victim of a crime in Jersey and can prove they suffered harm, mental or physical, is entitled to claim financial compensation. But they have to make that claim within 3 years of the offence being committed. So if somebody was sexually abused as a child but didn't say anything until they were older, they might not qualify. I've been speaking to one woman who's tried and failed to get compensation for that very reason. To protect her identity, someone else has revoiced her words.
It took me a very long time to tell someone about the abuse because it was just eating away at me every single day. I just kept breaking down all the time. I was self-harming. It was 25 years after I was abused that I finally came forward. And that was just because a family member had seen my breakdown so many times, and she made the call to the police.
After decades of hiding her trauma, this woman's abuser was convicted and jailed. We're calling her Sally to protect her identity. At what point did you realise that there were compensation schemes that might be applicable to your situation?
The police called me and they asked if I wanted to go ahead and try and get a prosecution. So obviously I said yes. Then they said that when he was convicted, I could apply for compensation and they'd give me the papers.
After her abuser was convicted, Sally filed those papers. The response? She was too late. She should have applied within 3 years of the abuse happening.
It took me 25 years to speak out, and it's the same for a lot of people. So it needs to be changed.
I've been shown correspondence from 2016 about this case between the then Chief Minister Ian Gorst and the head of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board. In it, Senator Gorst is sympathetic to Sally's cause, stating that victims of childhood abuse often take many years to disclose. He also suggests that their particular trauma might be a good reason for making an exception to the time limit. But the board is totally independent of government. Even the island's top politician couldn't change their mind. Now this UK lawyer has taken on Sally's case. Alan Collins says other women have approached him too, and he wants action from the government.
The politicians know that there's a problem. It's been a problem on their desk for many years. They seem to be sympathetic, but they need to do something about it, and now's the time to do something about it. If they don't, then these victims are not going to go away, and the number will probably grow, and the next step for them, unfortunately, will be legal proceedings. In my opinion, for what it's worth, the Criminal Injuries Compensation Scheme in Jersey is not fit for the 21st century when it comes to victims of sexual abuse. In my opinion, for what it's worth, it's discriminatory as well as plain wrong. And so the politicians need to get a grip with it and change it.
In a statement, the Director General for Justice and Home Affairs, Julian Blaisby, has promised a review, saying we need to improve our existing arrangements. A working group will be set up in 2021 to consider options for change. This could potentially include a new scheme for victims of crime. The working group will bring forward proposals that the State's Assembly may determine should be included in the government plan in future. So what would your message be then to any States members who are watching this? Why should they be reconsidering this time limit?
Because they need to update the law. People are talking out now more than they've ever done because it's highlighted more in the news. So it's given people the confidence to come forward. Laws need to be changed and we need to see proof that children are being put first.
That choice of words is key, isn't it? Remember, putting children first is one of this government's strategic priorities, so they got a chance here to prove it really means something. And I contacted Sally once we heard there was going to be a review. She said she was really hopeful that change might be coming. Her lawyer, Alan Collins, is a bit more sceptical. He messaged me saying it's interesting and welcome, but they've had 5 years. It should not have to come down to victims having to fight to be heard. We will find out more about this working group in the new year. In the meantime, the Scrutiny Panel for Children, Education and Home Affairs is conducting its own investigation into all government compensation and redress schemes, and that will report its findings in the spring.
OK, Claire, thank you.